Alright, so anyway, what I want to try and talk about today is taking this thing off of here, so your F-stamp A-frame front sight. So there's a couple of pins in here. I've already taken off the foregrip of the handguard, and so the real trick to this thing is these are tapered pins, and you can take some measurements. Hopefully everybody can see this on there. Anyway, it's zeroed out. Whenever I take it right here, it shows 11 thousandths. So, and then over here it shows 13. So anyway, obviously that means this is my ejection port side, so I want to be working from this direction down. So the trick is, once you get these two pins pushed out of here, everything should come out of here. The other thing that needs to happen is I need to take off this muzzle brake, and I'll do that real quick, and then I'll start working on these pins. Alright, so something to remember, when you take your muzzle brake loose and you start to take it off, one of the things to remember is the orientation of the crush washer. It's going to be important whenever you put it back on. So let's get this all the way off. Muzzle brake comes off. Crush washer, it's indented. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's indented, and then it's flat on the other side. So the flat side's going to go towards the barrel when we go back together, and the indented side's going to face towards the muzzle brake. Alright, so this pin here in the front, it's gone. Anyway, this pin back here in the back, I've gotten it started. I just took one of the biggest punches that I could find. You need something flat to kind of get this going. And once you get that pin pushed just a little bit, and you take your correct size roll pin punch, and get it started on there like that. There it goes. So it just went through. Obviously sometimes these things will get stuck in there. So, but if I can just get it rotate a little bit, it should come back out of there. And then you'll see this is kind of some of my southern engineering here. Obviously I don't have the block, the vise block. Well, if I can get my punch back out of there, that sounds like fun. Got it moving, and anyway, there's one pin. The other pin is pretty well out of there. Probably just take this like that, give it a little push, and so there's the second pin. Let me get this out of here real quick. Okay, that was a little crazy. Anyway, got my pin stuck in there, or my punch stuck in there, and so I'll show you too. Hopefully you guys can see the display on this thing. But anyway, if I go to this end, I do it. See, it shows 0.12. Hopefully you can see that on there. Then if I go to the other end, do the same thing. You get this all the way out there to the end. It actually shows 0.13. Hopefully you guys can see that. So they're tapered pins, and obviously you don't want to lose these. And like I said, I don't have an armorer's block, so I've got a couple of rags laid out here on my table. And then this is just roll of tape underneath that rag to kind of keep all this stuff from going all over the place. So now I've got my muzzle brake off, got the pins driven out of this A-frame. The main thing is you just don't want to bend your gas tube, and so you want to be extremely careful whenever you get ready to take this thing loose, but we've got to give this thing a little bit of persuasion to kind of get it moving. So I'm going to get this thing moving, and then I'll come back and we'll kind of talk about what we're going to do next. Alright, so like I said, it takes a little bit of persuading to get that thing moving, but on the barrel here, if you go a little bit, that will slide off past where your muzzle brake is, and then of course here's the handguard retainer. And on this particular one, you can see there's a couple of spots on this stainless barrel, you know what I'm saying, for those pins to go through. At this point, I'm going to take an opportunity to kind of clean this up a little bit, but let's show you kind of what this whole project started as, and we'll get this gas tube out of that too. But the idea is we're going to put on a low profile or a 4 quad rail gas block on the front of this, and I don't know, hopefully you can see up inside of there, there's a little tiny hole just inside of there, and that's where your gas block goes up, and then here's where your gas tube goes, and then of course obviously you've got a little spot right there that you would put a roll pin back in to hold your gas tube in place. So let me clean all this stuff back up, and I'll get the gas tube moved over to this unit, and then we'll start working on trying to get it put back on this barrel. Alright, so to kind of move on to the next step, obviously you don't want to mar up your gas tube, and you sure don't want to bend it, that's for sure. We'll clean all this up too here in just a second, but what it is, I just took a small pair of pliers and got this thing moving. Once it comes out of there, here's what you have. For those of you that have never seen one, here's where the pin goes through that actually holds that thing. Hopefully that thing is focusing on the right deal here. But anyway, there's a little hole right there, and that's where your retainer roll pin goes. And then there's the hole on the bottom there that the gas actually exits the barrel, goes down the gas tube, and actually functions your bulk carrier group, or pushes your bulk carrier group back. So, and this gun hasn't been shot a whole lot, but it's already got some pretty good carbon buildup. I'm going to use some CLP and see if we can't break some of that down and clean this up just a little bit. Alright, so here's another thing too. To get this lined up and this lined up, this is where the gas block or the gas tube goes in. This is just a lockdown screw, which I'll go back with some Loctite whenever we're done and get all this thing put together. But what I did is, and I don't know if you can see it or not on there, you see that little mark on the front. I marked the center of this, and at the same time, this may be a little harder to show, on the barrel right here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but anyway, I marked directly where this whole thing lines up. And so the trick is, obviously, my retainer goes in there like that, and then I'm going to take this with my mark on the front of it, and I'm going to slide it back up on there, and then this takes a little bit of finagling to get this thing up in there. You know what I'm saying? So then I'm going to line up everything, make sure that I can get it all pushed in real nice and snug. And then what I want to do is I want to line up those two marks. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look down the length of this and make sure that it looks straight. And it looks like it needs to come just a little bit to one side. Looks like that's pretty straight right there. You got a little bit of playroom here because the flash hole is just a little bit bigger than the gas hole in the barrel. So now that I've got these two lined up, what I've got to do is I've got to get this gas tube down inside of here, and then I've got to get the hole lined up. And so now that's what this entire thing's going to look like whenever it's put back together. So I'm going to go through and put my pins in and start tightening things back up. And I'll come back when all of this is done. I don't want to bore you with tightening things up and doing things, but as you start to tighten up these two, there's two screws down here. This is a UTG, and there's the model number that's on the side of it right there. I'm sure you can see that. Let me get to see if the light will hit that just right. But anyway, it's a UTG model. It's nothing really special, nothing fancy. It's just a four-sided deal. Now, the customer that I'm dealing with here, he wanted the original handguard put back on there, and so I'm going to do that. But whenever you tighten these down, sometimes this thing will get twisted just a little bit, so you want to be careful not to let that happen. So through the process, you want to keep going back and looking to make sure that that's straight, and then on top of that too, making sure that your two marks are correct. And then at the end, what I'll do is I'll take some CLP and I'll wipe all this down to get rid of where that pencil mark was on the front. So, but there you go. That's the general gist of how this is done. It's a pretty simple process. I feel like just about anybody can do it. Anyway, I'll be back in just a second as soon as I get everything tightened down. All right, so here we are with the finished product. Obviously you can see the front gas block is now on there. I've put on a UTG front sight. Nothing major, just Loctited everything in, made sure that everything was good and snug, put the handguards back on it and everything like that. Personally, I think it turned out pretty good. It doesn't look bad at all. There is a little bit of difference between the standard upper height and this new gas block height, but I'm assuming a big chunk of that can probably be taken up with the side adjustment up here in the front. It's not off by much, maybe, looking at it, maybe a quarter of an inch or so. It's nothing crazy, nothing major, but anyway, that's how you would replace the front gas block and remove this F-stamp front sight. So there you go. Appreciate you guys watching.